Nobody expects betrayal on Christmas Eve. You expect warm hugs, fake smiles, burnt cookies, old arguments buried under tinsel and lights. What you don't expect is to be erased. The first thing I remember is the sound of laughter. Not soft laughter, not kind laughter, the loud kind, careless, effortless, the kind that only comes from people who feel safe, people who belong. Hey friends, if stories like this resonate with you, hit that subscribe button to show your support. Drop a hello in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Then let's dive back into the tale. I stood just outside the glow of the patio lights in my parents' backyard, snow crunching under my boots, holding a red Christmas cup that said Holly Jolly in peeling gold letters. The cider inside was cold, just like the welcome. Everyone was here. Aunts wrapped in designer coats, uncles talking about stocks and bonuses, cousins I hadn't seen since funerals and weddings, and right in the center of it all, my younger sister Claire. Radiant, laughing, engaged. A massive Christmas tree stood behind her, drowning in ornaments and white lights, gifts stacked underneath like offerings. This party wasn't for me. It never was. A week ago, my mom had called and said, "We'll just do one big Christmas dinner this year. No need to complicate things." I believed her. That was my mistake. Because judging by the catered food, the live violinist, and the diamond flashing on Claire's finger, this wasn't about saving money. This was about celebrating the right child. I shifted my weight, watching my mother fix Claire's hair for the 10th time. "That ring is insane," someone said. My dad laughed proudly. "Mark has good taste." Mark, Claire's fiancé. Corporate lawyer, old money, last name that opened doors. I caught my reflection in the sliding glass door. Plain coat, no ring, no applause. Just me. I'd learned long ago how to disappear quietly. Christmas had always been like this. When Claire wanted dance lessons, my parents made it work. When my brother Evan wanted a car, it magically appeared. When I needed help paying for college, "You're strong. You'll figure it out." So I did. I worked nights, weekends, holidays. I built something real from nothing. And tonight, I planned to tell them. I thought Christmas might soften them. I thought wrong. "Everyone, everyone!" my uncle shouted suddenly, raising his glass. My heart skipped. For half a second, a stupid, hopeful second, I thought he meant me. But my father stepped forward instead. He raised his glass toward Claire and Mark. "To love," he said, "to family, and to a future worth celebrating." Cheers erupted. Not a single glance came my way. My chest tightened. Then my mother stepped beside him, glowing in the Christmas lights. "Oh, one more thing," she said brightly. "Here it comes," I thought. She looked straight at Claire. "Mark has offered Evan a position at his firm, starting in January." Applause. My brother grinned like he'd won something he hadn't earned. My fingers curled around the cup. Then my father added casually, like it was nothing. "And we're gifting Claire and Mark the down payment for their house." Someone gasped. "How much?" $200,000, my mom said proudly. The world tilted. 200,000. 3 years ago, I had asked them for 5,000 to help launch my company. They laughed, called it unrealistic, called me unrealistic. Something broke loose in my chest. What about me? The words escaped before fear could stop them. Silence slammed into the yard. Every face turned. My mother's smile tightened. "Seriously?" she said sharply. "It's Christmas. Don't do this." "Do what?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Exist?" My father sighed loudly. "Here we go," he muttered. "You always do this." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "I just wanted to be acknowledged," I said. "That's all." "For what?" my dad snapped. "You didn't do anything worth celebrating." A few people shifted uncomfortably. No one defended me. "I worked non-stop for years," I said. "I built something real." My dad laughed. A sharp, humorless laugh. "You're almost 30, he said. "Still renting, still driving that junk car, still wearing the same coat every winter." Each word landed perfectly, like he'd rehearsed it. Then my mother stepped forward and said the sentence that ended everything. "We're ashamed you're related to us." Gasps. The snow seemed to fall louder. An aunt whispered, "Oh my God." Something inside me didn't shatter. It hardened. I looked at every face, the family who watched this happen. Then I looked down at my phone, at the email I'd received earlier that afternoon. Subject: acquisition complete. Time: 4:01 p.m. When I looked back up, I smiled. Not bitter, not angry. Calm. Terrifyingly calm. "Thank you," I said softly. They stared. "Thank you for finally saying that out loud," I continued. "Now everyone can hear exactly who you are." My father stepped forward. "That's enough." "I'm not finished," I said. The Christmas lights flickered behind them. "You mocked what I was building," I said. "But today, that nothing bought a company." Confusion rippled. Mark frowned. "What are you talking about?" 3 years ago, I said, I started a tech consulting firm, AI logistics, manufacturing optimization. My mother went pale. This year, we cleared $29 million in revenue. Silence swallowed the yard. Then I said the name. Sterling Industrial Group. My father staggered. "That's..." "Yes," I said. "The company you all work for." Mark shook his head. "My family owns 40%. "Owned," I corrected. "They sold this afternoon." Snow fell heavier. "You're lying," my mother whispered. "SEC filings go public Monday," I replied calmly. "Check." Fear replaced arrogance. "This is revenge," Claire cried. "No," I said. "This is business." I turned and walked away. For the first time in my life, I didn't apologize. I didn't drive home right away. I sat in my car at the edge of the street, engine off, breath fogging up the windshield as snow continued to fall like nothing in the world had changed. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from release. For the first time in my life, I had said everything I wasn't supposed to say, and I hadn't apologized for it. My phone buzzed. Once, twice, then nonstop. I didn't look. I already knew who it was. Parents who never called, suddenly desperate to talk. Relatives who never defended me, suddenly wanting to clear the air. Claire, Evan, Mark. People only reach out when the power shifts. I turned the phone face down and finally drove away. The city streets were empty, wrapped in Christmas lights and silence. Families behind warm windows, music playing, traditions continuing. Just not mine. When I reached my apartment, I kicked off my boots and leaned against the door, breathing hard like I'd just survived something violent. Because I had. I poured myself a glass of cheap wine and sat on the floor, back against the couch, staring at the one thing I'd never shown my parents. My degree. Framed. Earned the hard way. Night classes. 6 years. No applause then either. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. This time, I answered. "Hey," Sarah said. My business partner, the only person who knew everything. "I heard," she said gently. I laughed once, sharp and broken. "Of course you did." "Mark's father called. He's panicking." I closed my eyes. "Deal solid?" I asked. "Locked tight," she said. "They signed willingly. Full exit." "Good." "Was it bad?" she asked quietly. I stared at the ceiling. "My mom told me she was ashamed I was related to her," I said. There was a pause. "That's unforgivable," Sarah said. "I thought I'd feel victorious," I admitted. "I don't." "You stood up for yourself," she said. "That doesn't make you cruel, it makes you done." I let that sink in. After we hung up, I slept for 3 hours. Christmas morning came quietly. No gifts, no calls, no noise. And for the first time, it was peaceful. Monday arrived too fast. I wore the suit I'd bought months ago. Navy, clean lines, nothing flashy. Power doesn't need decoration. Sarah met me in the parking lot of Sterling Industrial at 8:30 a.m. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." Inside, the lobby felt different. Whispers followed me. Eyes tracked my movement. Word had spread. The conference room filled quickly. Department heads, managers, and yes, my family. They sat far apart. My father looked older, smaller. My mother stared straight ahead, jaw tight. Claire didn't look up. Evan kept his head down. Mark wasn't there. Coward. "Good morning," I said, standing at the head of the table. Silence. "My name is Alex Carter, and as of last Friday, I'm the majority owner and CEO of Sterling Industrial Group." No applause. Just tension. "This company has potential, real potential, but it's been held back by outdated systems, favoritism, and leadership that forgot who keeps the lights on." I let that land. "We're here to fix that." Sarah took over, outlining the plan. Modernization, fair evaluations, real accountability. "Every role will be reviewed," she said calmly. "This isn't personal. It's necessary." I watched my father's jaw tighten. After the meeting, he cornered me near the elevators. "We need to talk," he said low. I met his eyes. "If you have concerns," I replied evenly, "you can submit them through HR." He scoffed. "You know that's your mother." I smiled slightly. "Not anymore. We've hired an external firm." His face flushed red. "You're enjoying this," he snapped. "No," I said honestly. "I'm correcting it." My mother tried next. "I'm still your mother," she whispered. "You can't treat me like this." I held her gaze. "You stopped treating me like your daughter a long time ago." She flinched. That was new. The next 60 days were brutal. Performance reviews don't care about feelings. They care about facts. My father's record was weak. Years of mediocre output. Multiple complaints buried quietly. Safety violations overlooked. He'd coasted on authority until authority stopped protecting him. He resigned. Didn't even fight it. My mother's audit was worse. Hiring irregularities, unaddressed complaints, clear favoritism. She wasn't fired, but she was removed from leadership. Evan surprised me. He struggled, badly at first, but he worked, stayed late, asked questions, listened. I assigned him a mentor, not me. I refused to blur lines. Claire stopped calling entirely. Mark's family sent lawyers. They got silence. Sterling improved fast. Productivity jumped, employee satisfaction doubled. People who'd been ignored for years finally felt seen. And me? I felt hollow. Winning doesn't fill childhood wounds. It just stops them from bleeding. 6 months later, I stood in my corner office, city glowing below. Sterling was thriving. So was I. But some nights I still heard her voice. "We're ashamed you're related to us." A knock came at my door. "Aunt Rachel's here," my assistant said. She stood awkwardly when I let her in. "Your mom's in therapy," she said quietly. "She wanted me to tell you." I nodded. "That's good," I said. "She hopes maybe one day." "Maybe," I replied, "but not today." Rachel nodded sadly and left. I turned back to the window. Success hadn't healed me, but it had freed me, and sometimes that has to be enough. Success is loud from the outside. Glass offices, meetings, numbers going up. But inside, it's quiet. Too quiet. 6 months after Christmas, Sterling Industrial was stronger than it had ever been. New contracts, better systems, happier employees. People who'd been invisible for years finally had voices. I should have felt complete. Instead, I felt finished. Like I'd crossed a finish line and realized there was no crowd waiting. Some nights I stayed late just to avoid going home. Not because I loved the work, but because work didn't ask me why my parents never loved me the way they loved my siblings. Work didn't remember. People did. My phone buzzed one Tuesday evening as I stared out at the city lights. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello?" There was a pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in months. "Alex, it's Mom." My chest tightened instantly. "I know you didn't want to hear from me," she continued quickly, "but please, just 5 minutes." I closed my eyes. Every instinct screamed no, but something quieter whispered, "Finish this." "5," I said. She suggested a coffee shop halfway between our lives, neutral ground. I agreed. She looked smaller when I walked in. Not weak, just human. No makeup, no authority, no Christmas lights hiding the cracks. She stood awkwardly when she saw me. "Hi," she said. I nodded and sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she broke. "I'm in therapy," she said. "I didn't realize how much damage I caused." I stirred my coffee slowly. "I said you were ashamed of me," I replied calmly. "You didn't whisper it, you announced it." Tears filled her eyes. "I know," she said, "and I can't take it back." "No," I said gently, "you can't." She looked at me like she wanted forgiveness handed to her. I didn't give it. "I spent my whole life trying to earn your approval, and the worst part is, you trained me to believe I didn't deserve it." She broke down then. "I loved you," she whispered. I met her gaze. "You loved the version of me that stayed quiet. You loved me when I didn't make you uncomfortable." Silence settled between us. "Can we start over?" she asked. I shook my head slowly. "Not yet," I said, "because I'm still learning who I am without needing you." That hurt her, but it was honest. We left without hugging, without promises, and somehow that felt right. My father never called. I wasn't surprised. Some people would rather lose a child than admit they were wrong. Evan and I spoke occasionally. Stiff, careful conversations. He was trying, I could see that. Claire never reached out. And that hurt more than I expected. Not because I missed her, but because part of me had hoped she'd finally choose me. She didn't, and that was my final lesson. On Christmas Eve, 1 year later, I stood alone on my balcony, city lights blinking below like distant stars. Snow drifted down quietly. I held a mug of hot chocolate, steam rising into the cold air. No party, no family drama, no performance, just peace. My phone buzzed a message from Sarah. "Proud of you. You built this." I smiled softly. I thought back to that Christmas night, to the lights, the laughter, the words that shattered me. "We're ashamed you're related to us." They didn't know it then, but that sentence freed me. It forced me to stop begging for crumbs from people who were never going to feed me. I learned something important this year. You can win and still grieve. You can succeed and still hurt. You can be right and still be lonely. But you know what's worse? Being loved conditionally. Being small to make others comfortable. Being invisible in a room full of people who share your blood. I chose freedom, even if it cost me the fantasy of a family that never really existed. The snow thickened. I raised my mug in a quiet toast, not to success, not to revenge, but to survival, to choosing myself, to never again begging to be seen. Sometimes the hardest truth is realizing the people who were supposed to love you were the ones breaking you. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, this story is for you. Like, subscribe, and share your experience in the comments. Your story matters. And remember, the best revenge isn't success, it's peace.